I'm glad you're coming around. How you doing?
Anxiety attacks, no sleep, depression. Hitting all the cliches. Sometimes it just feels like.
You're getting lost up there.
It's okay. Everything's gonna be okay.
Miss Andrews, are you okay?
Definitely not.
Hello, guys. Welcome to the Bomb Squad. We're back. And if you saw the trailer before this, you'll know that we got a movie coming out. The Empty Space comes out May 30th, despite what I might have said earlier, despite claims that I might have made. It comes out on the 30th. You can rent it. You can go to Walmart and buy it. I know you guys are clamoring to have your own physical copy of The Empty Space, as everyone knows that everyone in the world loves collecting DVDs and Blu-rays of movies.
Yeah.
Go check it out. It's a good movie. We'll talk about it more as we go along. We're gonna have some special guests. It's gonna be a lot of fun for the next 3 months as we promote the shit out of this. So the more you watch it, the less I have to promote it. So it's up to you guys. How fast do you want to get to this review?
Right.
Sometimes you got to get to the real content. But yeah, we're gonna have some special guests. For today, we have a very special guest. William is back. William,
Hello.
the boys are back in town.
Finally.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So yeah, so we wanted to get back started. We were waiting so that we could put the trailer in front of this, and so today, for us, which is the 27th, they announced the release dates, and so now we can put the trailer in front, and we can start promoting that film. And so now we're back. This is all promotion for me. So William, what movie we picked? Piercing.
hmm
And since it's your first time back, why don't you give us a summary of this movie?
Okay. So it's about a guy who is like a new dad, and he has this weird need to kill something, and he might kill his daughter. So he decides to find a prostitute to kill instead because he wants to get that thrill. And so he gets this person to come over. It's not who he thought it was, but I don't know. He thinks he's going to kill her. He's not sure if she knows or not, and weirdness ensues from there.
Cool, yes. And this movie is from 2018. It's directed by Nicholas Pesh, who also directed The Grudge. And it's written by Ryu Murakami and Nicholas Pesh. And then it stars Christopher Abbott from Girls. He's also in the best episode of Girls, him and Allison Williams. When they're on screen by themselves, that's the best episode. And also stars Mia Wasikowska. I wasn't gonna get it. We all know I wasn't gonna get it.
Let's try again.
That was good. That was fine. Oh,
It's like Wazakowski or something.
Yeah, Wasikowski.
Yeah.
It should just come to me like me starting it, and it just ends with me going Wasikowski, and then we'll know that's the cut. So, guys, what did you think of this film?
Well, I have some thoughts. So I actually, that guy Ryu Murakami, he wrote Audition, the book for Audition, which I just read actually like last week.
Oh
And
yeah,
we had watched the movie together like a long time ago, and I remember like not loving the movie at the time, but the book was badass, and I think I just like wasn't paying attention to the movie that much.
yeah,
But his other book, In the Miso Soup, they're all kind of about these guys who are sort of like at this weird crux, this like weird limit in a way.
yeah.
It's like this guy's like at the precipice of like wanting to kill, and it
Mhm.
kind of is like this like weird journey of why would somebody want to do this? What is somebody else's opposite reaction? Anyways, I thought that the story was badass, but I thought the style was like a little too Lynch or Kubrick kind of, but it wasn't weird enough, I didn't think. And
Yeah,
I think it got weird towards the end, but the tone was like a little off at the beginning, and it was kind of confusing if it was like a hallucinatory kind of thing or like what. But that being said, I liked the style. I love the story, but I don't know if they really matched up in my opinion.
yeah. Well, and I do like. I think because I saw this movie in theaters, it was like sometimes if there's like an independent film, I just try to rush in blind.
Yeah.
Um, and speaking of audition, before we continue, yeah, I think audition's great because I remember watching it as a kid and like I was blown away by it. Like I was like in early college,
Yeah.
but we watched it again. I saw it with my little brother, and I was like, "Oh man, this movie's so smart and just so like the things that it touches on, like the show business, the way that there's like that weird, double entendre without having to say anything, and like
Yeah.
it's just like yeah, it's just and it's also like commenting on how romantic comedies are. Yeah, we're definitely gonna cover
Right.
that one eventually. But I do like the first thing that's striking about this movie. It's almost Hitchcockian, and it's like the sets are just like they're clearly like not real.
Fair.
They're
Yeah.
very
Yeah, this
stylized.
the like the intentional unreality of the
Yeah.
situation.
Right.
Yeah, and I do kind of
Well,
Yeah.
agree. Like there is this other movie with Jesse Eisenberg called like
the double.
Varane. No, it's called like Varanium, and it's about like
Oh,
they go to
Bavaria.
this, yeah, Vivarium, and they like go to this house, and like things immediately start going wrong, and it has a similar tone to this movie, but that movie like immediately starts being weird from like the first scene.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like with the style because the movie fits it, and with this one, like I there's like okay, so it opens and he's like has an ice pick over his baby, and
Hardcore.
he's like deciding whether to stab her or not. And then you see him like decide not to, and he has the knife behind his back, and his wife's like, "You need to go like have fun or some shit." And that's when he's like writing. Like it's hard to take that as face value as to what's happening when everything's so stylized.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like even I don't know because I want to say that American Psycho manages to pull off a similar tone, but with a similar like violent streak because he's not really doing too much and all the violence is quick. But
Yeah.
this one just kind of like yeah, it feels disconnected.
Right. There's something not quite matching up. Like
Yeah,
there's a lot of good elements, but like
I think it's
I don't
it's almost like it's because even like it's kind of like the music, like because the music kind of jumps around a lot.
know, totally.
At times, it almost feels like there's this great scene where he's like left. He's in the hotel getting ready for this encounter. And it's playing this like organ music, and she's getting ready at the same time. It's like a split screen. It's
William.
like
Right.
Did,
Right. Yeah.
William, did you recognize that song though?
Not. I don't know. Not that I can think of.
It's from Deep Red by Argento.
that was it.
Oh, damn.
It's
Because
pretty
I was
good.
like, what the fuck? This sounds like Deep Red, and then I looked on online, and I was like, oh, it's
Yeah.
literally the same.
But it's like that's like a great scene. And then but then like early on in the beginning, he's like kind of narrating like how he wants to kill her. And it's
Mhm.
playing like elevator type music, and I'm like, I don't know if this is the right like is the tone like it's like kind of a comedy, but I don't know. It's almost like
Yeah.
you shouldn't make it too comedic because it's inherently like an interesting enough premise without being like kind of like smirking, you
Yeah.
know?
Mhm.
Right. That's
Yeah,
exactly right. That's how I feel too.
Yeah,
Like
because
the
there's
people
like
were like
that.
they were good enough, they were interesting enough, and
Yeah,
they weren't that batshit. Minus the fact that they wanted death in their lives, but like that's pretty common for a thriller.
right,
And like
right.
they really weren't that crazy. They were very interesting
Yeah,
for sure. Not dreamlike, like how
right, right.
the tone of the movie kind of felt.
Yeah, because you
yeah.
have like there's a scene where and like the acting's all great, but and there's a scene where he gets to the hotel that he's decided to murder her and he's like waiting for her, and you see him and he's like like he's practicing like stabbing someone and he's practicing like cutting her throat, but then he like practices like switching the tools, and
Yeah,
it's like but they're also like using the like music or like they're using
Like the
sound
sound
effects of the thing,
effects.
and it's
Yeah.
kind
right.
of like did Michael Bay sound design this? Like why like you it's already like you get the joke that he's like planning this disgusting thing very mundanely. And but like adding that sound effect, kind of, it's like it's almost talking down to you a little bit, kind of like, "Hey, do you get what we're doing?" You know?
Right. That's kind of a tricky line. Like if you're on
Hmm.
board with it, then you're like, fuck yeah. But if you're not, then
Yeah.
it's like, okay, bro.
And
Yeah.
it is that thing where that's like I almost can get past it because that is an interesting idea. Like just watching someone in their hotel room like plan this murder, and it's very gruesome, but they're just kind of like almost taking joy in the planning. And it's like that's an interesting thing. So we don't need all your razzle dazzleness.
Yeah.
Also, William, that when we were in college, William wrote a short about a guy who's like there. It was like a guy and a girl talking in a hotel room or something, and then you find out
Oh
that he's like,
yeah.
that's kind of like
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Nice
What were
call.
they planning to do?
What's up?
What were they
In
planning
the
to do in the?
show,
Yeah.
they were supposed to be talking like they had just had sex for the first time, and it was like an older woman and like a younger guy. But then like at the very end, the woman walks out and is like, "I'm gonna go down first, so that no one gets suspicious." And the boy's like, "Okay, well, okay." And then she leaves, and he's just kind of by himself. And then he walks into the bathroom. Then you see like the murdered guy, like they've been talking about
Yeah.
murder the
See.
whole time instead of sex.
Yeah.
Which that
See
is kind
that.
Yeah.
of yeah,
Yeah, it's similar. Well, and to this, like we should say, this movie's like 80 minutes long. It's very short,
yeah,
but
yeah.
even then, it almost feels like it could have been 50. You know, like you could have.
Yeah, it feels like a short story for sure. Like I wonder what the book is like. I wonder how long it is. Like
I know,
because it's a
right?
pretty complex story for sure.
Well, and it's
Yeah, but
funny because we haven't even gotten to the prostitute that gets there, played by Mia. Jackie is her character's name, and but she's like I don't know. I like that because she's kind of quit Hollywood after Alice in Wonderland, and she only does roles that she really wants to. And because I know that, anytime I see her in a movie or like a trailer, I will automatically watch that movie just to kind of figure out like why did she pick this role, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
And I like
yeah.
that she
She's kind of
picks
not really been
her as
around.
yeah,
She was great though. She was like she really played that kind of like there's because like the movie plays a lot with like how you're not really sure if there's a lot of double entendres of like is he talking about murdering or is he talking about having sex with her? Does she know that he wants to murder her? That kind of thing. And she does such a good job of like being so like removed from life in general that you could literally see her going either way.
right,
I'd be just as okay with her wanting
yeah,
sex as death. Like
yeah.
I would not be surprised either way.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and she's because she comes in and it's not the same one that he ordered. It's like a weird one, and she like owes money, but she's like you can kind of tell. And so he plans to kill her, and then she asks to use the bathroom, and then he goes into the bathroom because she's taking a long time, and she's like stabbing herself in the leg, and he's like, "What the hell
Yeah,
are you doing?"
fucking
And
hard.
so then he takes her to the hospital to heal her, and so it's that kind of movie where it's like, oh, if you wanted you're trying to kill her. So like, what the difference does it make if she's already been stabbed? But
Yeah,
it's kind of like just his that natural reaction of taking her to the hospital, and so
right.
and that's why I kind of get Bret Easton Ellis vibes. You know, this kind of everyone in Bret Easton Ellis books just acts on impulse and never with their brain. You know.
Yeah, they all just
yeah,
like really want to feel something. Like they all just like
Yeah.
want like this experience. And I think that the reason why I took her to the hospital is because like there's that part where he's like she has to speak English so I can hear the terror in
Yeah.
English. He really
Or it has
wants
to be.
that like that intimate like death like that. That's like really which is just as intimate as like sex. Like it was like a weird sex death thing in this movie for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Definitely has that kind of eroticism to it the whole time.
Yeah.
Um, And yeah, and so after that, like they go to the hospital, and then it's just kind of back and forth as to who's going to get the upper hand. It's it's kind of it's like one of the best things in it, and we'll just kind of spoil it a little bit. Is there's a real good twist because he keeps talking to his wife, and like she's like, "Oh, how are your friends?" And he's like, "Oh, they're fine. They're in the other room." And then halfway through, she's talking, and you realize that she knows what he's planning to do because she's trying to like coach him through murdering the girl.
Yeah.
yeah. See, well, I see. I think they leave it ambiguous. Like, is he imagining that because he
Right.
wants his wife to support him? Because he tries
Mhm.
to call her back and she's asleep, but it's like, yeah, it could go. I mean, I
Yeah.
like the fact that it's super ambiguous, though. That to me is more interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it makes a lot of like I don't. It's so weird because every step is correct, but when you put it all together, you like went the wrong way.
It's like
Yeah.
less than the sum of its parts. They also
Yeah.
Right.
they also like, I don't know, because I mean, if we're just gonna get into like kind of it, at one point he gets poisoned, and
Yeah.
he's kind of having the your standard fever dream, looking at my past situation.
Right.
And I kind of took it to mean that he has killed other people. You know, like he's done this a few to like before, and he's like imagining like the first time he did it. You know, like,
Yeah.
and they're just kind of being like, okay, no, I have to keep doing it to like prostitutes to like quell like the rage inside of me or whatever.
Right.
Which is interesting. There's like a bug monster kind of chasing him around.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I enjoyed that little bug monster.
Yeah.
So,
Also,
I
that's
like any time there's
yeah.
a
Oh my
bug
god, I
or a
remember the book
fly.
monster for sure.
And yeah, it like looks really cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
they
and
also
you know
do.
it's funny that
You,
oh, it does that thing that Audition does, where it's like, here's a bunch of backstory you didn't really need.
Yeah.
yeah, the last 10 minutes. Well, you know what I like too is because she takes him to her place, and like I know like in TV and movies, everyone's apartment is always bigger than real life, but hers is like enormous,
I
and it's
know.
Yeah.
so big they like comment on it in the movie where it's like
Yeah.
your apartment. She's like, oh, I don't spend money on other things, and it's almost funny. Like they're like, no, we have to acknowledge how like insane this apartment is. That it's like
She
like
has
a
like
millionaire lives there. Yeah.
Yeah.
there's just
Well,
like
and it,
it's just in the middle of the floor.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it
So I
literally
enjoyed
looked
that.
like where they live, where the couple lives in the Crow, because there's like a giant window, and it
Yeah.
just kind of looks like that's where Batman would live, so he could jump out real quickly.
And the coloring was a lot like in Blue Velvet, like
Yeah.
Miss Hopper's house. Like it was like
Hmm.
no, not his house, but what's her name? Who's in that movie? Isabella Rossellini.
Isabella. Yeah.
Like her apartment has like those exact pink walls and like the weird carpet. Like it's a really if go back and watch that scene with the apartment, her apartment, and then go back and watch Piercing, and it's like almost the exact same colors. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, and
Nice.
it's kind of funny because the director is clearly like taking from like there's the Hitchcock vibes, like the whole city kind of has like the look of it from the outside looks very Vertigo, where you can like see
Yeah.
in the windows in a very unnatural way. There's like the big giant rooms, like there's like the Galileo thriller. There's like those kind of coloring in a bunch of the scenes. There's like that kind of slow 70s, like even like THX George Lucas style, like split screens, and like whenever there's like a
Yeah.
pan, it takes a long ass time.
Yeah.
Or like when he's in the cab, it's almost like deliberately looks super fake behind him, like even
Yeah.
faker than it
Yeah.
should, you know. And it's kind of like,
Right,
okay,
right.
you're doing
Yeah.
a thing, and I like the thing you're doing. It's just I don't know.
Right.
It's very like he was really going for it, you know. And I kind
Well,
of I
and
do respect that, but
again, but then he like goes into the hotel room, and it's just the hotel room. It's like, okay. It's
Yeah.
like why isn't that how like, and that's what the problem, because you spend so much time in that room, you'd think that they'd want to super stylize it, and like they could even do it where like some rooms, like maybe the bedroom's smaller, and every time they move it gets a little smaller, so you feel claustrophobic or something, because it's
Yeah.
clearly on a set, but
Right.
like they don't really do anything with it, and it's like, why do you keep cock teasing me with like style?
it almost felt a little bit, and I know I'm sure this movie had like a decent budget to, but it almost felt like a Borderlands style. Like, look, we have this hotel room for 2 days.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
We're gonna film here.
It's doubling for
But
every other room in the film.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know, it's that kind of movie.
It's
Yeah.
them kind of vibes. Yeah, I mean, overall, I think it's worth a watch, especially like if you don't know a lot about, um, like if you're not super into David Lynch yet, and you kind of want to like tap into that kind of stuff. It's definitely a gateway psychological thriller movie.
Yeah. It's solid. I would say it's solid for sure.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's just a little bit like, I think the problem is it has a lot of potential, and it never like follows all the way through to where it should.
Yeah.
You can kind of get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I will.
early on, there is that scene early on where, because I watched this with my wife, you know,
Yeah.
uh, we neither of us had ever seen it, and it's the scene where she's stabbing herself in the bathtub, you know, and he's like, "Oh no,"
Yeah.
he's trying to stop her, and then she like freaks out and bites his hand, you know,
Oh, for a
Right.
long
so
time.
so yeah, it looks painful. Like that is one of those things, and I was like, "Oh, now he can't kill her because the DNA evidence will be on her teeth." And then my wife's like, "It's not that kind of movie, all right." So I'm like trying to CSI it.
That's hilarious.
She's
That's
like,
exactly right.
this is a
And she was
vibes
right.
film. This is not DNA evidence
And
film.
one of the things that I liked about it was that it's very like all the gore is pretty gory. Like there's a point where she's like cutting his face, and every time she even
Yeah.
like he puts his hand up and she hits his hand, you see like a big gash on his hand, and it's like scream. And like when she's stabbing her leg, you see a bunch of blood.
Yeah.
And
That was
so
a
that
hard.
was
That was hard to watch.
yeah, it was a cool, and it like they're acted so well.
Hmm.
And it was like that's pretty cool. I really like this, but again, it almost clashes with the style that they've had so far,
I
where
know.
like David Lynch is able to like get away with the really kind of, you know, he can afford bigger effects, but he uses these kind of almost cheaper effects, and he has to
Yeah.
just to because it like adds to the otherworldliness of the entire project.
Right. It
And
feels that way like all throughout for sure.
exactly, and in
Yeah.
this one, it's like it's almost like if you had even just had like almost if they had gone as far as like having confetti instead of actual blood, it almost would have made more sense.
I know.
Yeah,
It's
like really like put a hat on the like the
yeah,
superficiality of it, you
Yeah.
know?
Exactly.
Yeah. It
So
also like and not only like it goes super violent, but like shout out to the actress Maria Dizia, who like plays like a nameless prostitute he kills in his flashback, and it's like, oh man, your whole scene is just being topless and getting like screamed at and
violently
murdered.
murdered. Yeah,
Yeah. Like in like a disgusting hotel room. Like
yeah.
you get 5 lines and you have to be topless for all of them and covered in blood. Like and she's like a
yeah,
legit actress. She's in like other good stuff, you know. So it's like, man,
Yeah. What else is
yeah.
she?
she's I don't know if you ever saw, I mean, this is not the best example of a good role she's in, but if you ever saw Orange is the New Black,
Oh yeah.
Piper's friend who her husband sleeps with while she's in prison, who's like a
Yeah.
new
Oh
mom.
yeah.
Is that yeah, she's that was the first I was like, where have I seen her
Yeah.
um having sex with the guy from American Pie, and it was Orange is the New Black. So,
She gets around.
Yeah, remember when Orange was the New Black had like a outside of prison storyline?
or just cohesiveness, like
What a
like
weird
thematic
show.
cohesiveness. Yeah, but
Yeah, I don't know. That's all I had to say about this movie. I do think it's worth watching. It kind of feels like we're
yeah,
shitting on it, but I think it's
it's
Yeah.
because
It's because it was so
everything's
close to being amazing.
yeah,
but
and like it's
it's
supposed to be
tricky.
amazing, but it's still pretty good. I would still check it out.
It's one of the because it's on Netflix, and it's one of those where if you just took a chance on it on Netflix, you're like, maybe this is good. You'll be like, that was pretty good, and it's only 80 minutes, so it's like, come on, that's less than
Yeah.
one episode of Stranger Things these days.
Yeah. That's an even
I
tighter.
Yeah, I definitely liked it more when I just randomly walked into the Alamo and asked for a ticket. I think it's because of the popcorn. So make popcorn when you get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, welcome back, guys. What a short ass episode, but
Yeah.
you're days away, and by days I mean a whole month away from watching The Empty Space, and then you could be like, "This guy has an opinion." I don't think so. Um, but check it out. It's coming up. We're gonna have some fun stuff. We're gonna have some fun stuff on every single one of my pages, including this one. We're even gonna have a deep dive. So get ready. We're coming for you. Yeah, we'll see you guys next time on the Bum Squad.